Check the default mic. Come on. It's okay. Shush. Okay, it's just stuck here. Okay, good, good.
Someone's reported they can hear.
Okay, so now we are back. It seems. Stop. Oh, okay. Yasmin, can you please check and report to me?
It's going to be a new feed, huh?
No, no, it's the same. I'm just.
She could hear me for a second. Slide.
Yep, we are back.
So can everyone hear me now? Yes, I mean, it's difficult to, I just want to hear confirmation that everybody on the live YouTube feed can hear us.
Yes, yes,
Yay!
yes.
Okay, fantastic,
Thank
folks.
you.
So, our big apologies for the technical difficulties. They arise out of the fact that we had to make last-minute changes regarding what we were using to broadcast because our Zoom account had been hacked today. So we apologize for the delays and the technical difficulties in that. I obviously gave a big breakdown of Dr. Sari Hanafi's profile. And I feel a bit silly because then I got the information that everything I said was probably not heard by the YouTube audience, but apparently it can be heard now. Welcome to the annual general meeting of the Council for British Research in the Levant and the annual general lecture that we host traditionally after the meeting, which in fact just took place. I do not want to push time now because we are a bit late, so I actually will go straight into the issue of introducing our speaker today, who's Dr. Sari Hanafi, a professor of sociology and the director of the Center for Arab and Middle Eastern Studies at the American University of Beirut, as well as the director of, or the chair of its Islamic Studies program. He is also the president of the International Sociological Association and was the vice president of the board of the Arab Council for Social Sciences. Dr. Sari Hanafi is the editor of Idafat, the Arab Journal of Sociology, which comes out in Arabic, and is the author of Knowledge Production in the Arab World, Impossible Promise, with Rigas Aravantis. He also is a co-editor of the Oxford Handbook of the Sociology of the Middle East and many other publications in English, Arabic, and French. He holds a PhD in sociology from the School for Advanced Studies in the Social Sciences and is joining us today from Korea. We understand it is well past midnight over there, and he is also suffering from being quite ill, we discovered. But we are very thankful and grateful for his determination to carry forward with offering us this lecture today, despite the circumstances, both technical as well as health-wise, of course. So without further ado, I'm going to actually give the space to Dr. Hanafi to give his lecture for about 30 to 40 minutes today, and then I will come back in and engage him. Please, if you would like to, well, it's going to be quite difficult for me to be able to take questions from the audience, given the fact that this is not, it is being broadcast on YouTube. But if for whatever reason you have the ability to access the question and answer feature of the Zoom, please put the questions there. So without further ado, folks, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Sari Hanafi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tawfiq. I will try my best to deliver this talk. So let me say that my task today is first to talk about historical trends in social science in the Arab world, and the way I understand them as a divided into two paradigms or family of paradigms, what I will call global critical paradigm and identity politics paradigms. I will explain this, and then how the Arab uprisings were the occasion for paradigm shifts, and I will talk how this happened. So if you like, I can spot three historical trends. First is absence of criticism of the superstructure of the nation state. It's somehow they follow the modernization paradigms that the state is a developmental state, and we need, as a social scientist, to help the state to realize this developmental project. So it's somehow this focusing on the technicality rather than connecting the social with political economy. I would like you to refer to the wonderful concept of James Ferguson, modern anti-politics machine. So in that, most studies merely provide technical solutions to technical problems. Of course, I'm not arguing that on this is criticism is always like this. Sometimes a criticism was important. So if you like, again, operational backing for the development and modernization project. Sorry, I forgot to give a methodological note. I rely on 5 years project of knowledge production in the Arab world. I did it with Rigas Vanitis in 2015, and since then I am still working on knowledge production, and I use heavily two reports produced by the Arab Council for Social Science. I think both they are amazing. These two reports. One is team leader Mohammed Bami, and the other is Abdullah Al-Hamoudi, the Moroccan anthropologist. So if I refer to the work of Saeed al-Masri, an Egyptian sociologist, the discourse of social transformation, which focus on the subject of development and modernization in contrast with the discourse of culture and social structure. Or is the crisis discourse. I mean, talk a lot about crisis under the influence of the Arab uprisings of 2010, 2011, and you can refer to Hamoudi work. So this is the first trend. The second trend is the state as more modern than the society. And I think Abdullah Al-Arabi, the Moroccan philosopher, is by excellent. His ethos of his writing is about that. The third trend focus on power and social class structure and the role of culture. So, if you like, really play in an excellent way the question of social class structure and give importance to this topic. So, let me, if I will talk before the Arab uprisings, I would, as I said, we have two families of paradigm. The first one is what I called a critical global paradigms. In order to understand this paradigm, you should know that the social science in general often has two moments: a global or universalistic moment, and local normative moment. So the global universalistic is Aristotelian moment of reason, insisting that social science is like any science and hence need technique of conducting research. This requires a nomothetic approach to produce data that will allow for comparability with a study in other contexts. So if you like any social science, you have this moment. But then you have other moment, is a local normative, is the notion of conscience become important. The subjectivity of actors and the influence of culture and religion require a more ideographic approach that seeks to fully understand the causes of social events while taking into account the local culture. So by doing local, global, don't misunderstand me. I am not meaning that the global is not also normative. So we can make a matrix with more complex. That normativity is also on a global level, making a complex matrix. So, and of course, boundaries between the local and the global are blurred. And of course, and this paradigm is understand universalism not as a recipe to be applied or replicated in a context, but as an imaginary. It's not model to be replicated, but if you like, as a something that we can use our universal knowledge in order to understand what is going on and what is here. So, and in this critical global paradigms, there is a call for double criticism. Abdel Kabir Khattabi, for instance, he is very famous. He has a famous text in French about double criticism, both in the local social science and the global one. So we need to not only to criticize the colonial roots of our social science, but also how authoritarianism in different level in Arab countries are affecting our knowledge production. So if you like, looking to characteristics of this global critical paradigm, I can talk about 5 characteristics. First, balanced use of local / regional references. So when you look about this, you find that people are aware of what is going on in Europe in the theories, but also aware of what is going on and research, whether theory or case studies in a local context. Second, yet this scholarship is not always well updated according to the current local, regional, and international debates. A fact made clear from the date of references. When we look about those who are less than 5 years, we find it is not much you find, etc. It means that there is a problem of infrastructure in the Arab world. Our libraries doesn't bring updated references. The third characteristic is the lack of timeliness. This impede further the accumulation of knowledge to the critical degree and drive social change. The fourth one, balance between dealing with development versus social change and transformation. And finally, in the Arab uprising of 2011, pushed criticism to the theme of a crisis and this topic overlap with the theme of change and transformation. The theme of crisis have invested in aspects related to history and social and psychological processes and dynamics. Here I quote Abdullah Hamoudi. Okay, so the major bulk of knowledge production, I would say, is influenced by this paradigm, critical local paradigm. However, you have other paradigm, is what I called identity politics paradigms. So let me first talk about the post-colonial perspective. Again, I think acknowledging the scarce of the colonial era is really very important. So especially this center where you are is in Jerusalem, in the heart of the conflict. So the colonial, settler colonial project is still there. However, I think when I did analysis of post-colonial perspective as a discourse and not as a theory. So I'm not criticizing theory. I'm not criticizing how Said Baba Zvebak Gametta Bambra Anibal Cachino, Walter Maniello, Lucille, etc. They theorize it, but I have really problem how has been used in the Arab world. I depict three like use and abuse of post-colonial theory. First of all is analyzing contradictions. If you look to the writing of many scholars, they still think that you have in a Maoist way that the main contradiction in the last 3/4 of century is the contradiction with colonial power. And there's no way that and that all other contradictions are secondary. For instance, this is who think that even if you have 1 million Syrians die in this uprising, that is the contradiction with Bashar al-Assad is a secondary contradiction. The main contradiction is with the colonial and imperialism. The second abuse of this discourse is on overemphasis on external factors while neglecting local ones. I found it, for instance, a very interesting Edgardo Lander from Venezuela, how he considered that the fact that NGOs, Venezuelan NGOs, is funded by US, that in fact we don't understand what is going on in Venezuela. But then this as if there is no local dynamics in Venezuela, an authoritarian regime there. The same thing I can if you refer to my work about the left, in English is toward convivial left, and my current work where I talk about what classically liberal and politically illiberal left. This really, they put a lot of emphasis on external factors. The third abuses is binary logic of the antagonistic categories such as East-West, universalism, contextualism, religion, science, etc., etc. By the way, I mean, have you ever thought why somebody like Wa'il Halla or Edward Said is so popular for many Islamists is because they if you like erect wall between this binary logics. So instead of following Talal Asad, who looks to any authority behind social science discourses, some post-colonial scholar understand this authority as something emanate of only from the Western power. Many call for de-Westernizing and decolonial knowledge production, but have ended up impoverishing themselves because of the tendency to keep on harking back to the achievement of historical vernacular scholars. By the way, I consider that Ibn Khaldun is really used and abused in political sociology and political science on this. So if you like, what I'm trying to show you so far, that this abuse create a distortion in knowledge production. Let me refer to my work with other about 520 articles written in 2011 and early 2012 about the Arab uprising. So we study who cite who. So of course in this Zoom it's very difficult to explain each cluster. But what I wanted to say, just to give you, that what we are witnessing now, for instance, that people are, because they believe in external dynamics, they write a lot what Mark Lynch and others, ex-white in the United States, have right and think. And we forgot, for instance, when I look, this is about who cite whom, if you like. And it's a very interesting, somebody so influential like Fawaz Trabulsi is not cited one time in this academic journals, in this academic writing about the Arab uprising. So it become like really it's emphasizing the external dynamics at the expense of what is the debate locally. Again, I think we can have many criticism of this identity politics with post-colonial perspective about how criticism has been done and other things. Let me let me go to other perspective, Islamic perspective. So it's identity politics with a Islamic perspective. So if you like, let us go a little bit into history. It was really a paradigm very important, launched by that triple IT in Washington, is Islamic Institute for Thought, International Institute for Islamic Thought. That they talk about Islamization of human knowledge, and Allah yarhamu Ismail al-Faruqi, a Palestinian philosopher, was really who wrote the first about that. Faruqi is more interested in the epistemological processes, in the way that the Islamic values and incorporated with the 5 unities which form the first principles of Islamic methodology: unity of Allah, of creation, of truth and knowledge, of life and of humanity. So if you like, it's really this perspective is very interested in social philosophy, much more than conducting empirical research in social science. Of course, in Malaysia, there is a university created as a laboratory of applying this Islamization of human knowledge, and it was pushed further by Muhammad Naqib al-Attas, rahimahullah. So the Islamic worldview deal with the existence in the totality, which include seen and unseen world and the westernization. If you like, Farouqi say we need to read the Western knowledge because it's important knowledge, and then criticizing it. For Naqib, no need to read. We need to make a rupture with Western knowledge. So if you like, this triple IOM is called International Islamic University of Malaysia. Really, they succeed to work this Islamization of knowledge. But if you like, now you have a new trend of a young Malaysi that they work this in a critical way. But what I'm interested to tell you, if you go to Algeria, if you go to suburb of Egypt, of Fayoum, of Zakazit universities, you will find many social scientists, they espouse this Islamic perspective. So, if you like, let me summarize what I came to do. So you have a global critical paradigm in the middle. This is before 2011. And there is a polarization of post-colonial identity from one side and religious identity from the other side. This model explodes with the Arab uprising, as you see. We witnessed after 2011. Look, I cannot tell you as an editor of Idafat, Arab Journal of Sociology. By the way, in January, in late January, it will be last issue I edited. So it will be a new editor, and I will not anymore be an editor of Arab Journal of Sociology. I cannot tell you how much I suffer from being editor. But it was amazing as an observatory of what kind of knowledge produced in the Arab world. So global critical from one side, and then identity politics on the other side. Colonialism, Islamization, Islamic perspective, etc. And for the first time, you have, if you like, a connection between social science and universalism. But again, in the Q&A, maybe I explain why I use this word. I know it's provocative for many of you, but I understand it like imaginary and not as something to apply as it is. I mean, if you like, democracy is a universal concept as an imaginary, but I don't want Americans to write the constitution of Iraqis, neither Russian, the constitution of Syria, okay? And a connection to the moral philosophy. And I think I mean by moral philosophy that we admit that social science is normative. And we need really to have a position vis-a-vis democracy, vis-a-vis many authoritarianism, conservatism, etc. So if you like, for the first time, post-colonial approach is complemented by anti-authoritarianism. I insist, I say complemented by. We need post-colonial theory, okay? And we need to use it in with moderation, like alcohol. So, so post-colonialism is complemented by anti-authoritarianism, and Islamization is more. We find a serious writing, what I call ecological perspective. It means that to think not only about religion as impacting our worldview, but also the culture. Muhammad Bami, he has a wonderful book. It's called Life Words of Islam, where he showed that Islam impacting people not as a structure, but as, if you like, as something remained in the heritage impacting us. Our experience of Islam. It's not a structure. It's not the fiqh. This is what is important. So this is why ecological perspective is very important. Of course, interdisciplinarity, and now what triple IT in Washington call integration of knowledge. They don't use anymore Islamization of knowledge. They are very wise. They know that this is something important. As you see, there is also a reflection about Max Weber, ethics of conviction, as I said, ethics of responsibility. But as I'm sick, I'm not deal with that. Okay. So to conclude, if you like, when I look to the articles, you find Syria, Kuwait, Lebanon, Lebanese University, American University, my university, Egypt, Palestine. They are so into identity politics, and if you like, global critical. I mean, they are interested of criticizing. If you go to the opposite, identity politics and non-critical knowledge production, you find a lot in Syria and the Gulf. The more knowledge production sensitive to moral philosophy and universalism, and the critical paradigm, you find Morocco, Tunisia, Lebanon, also in EUB and San Jose. So EUB, my university is divided. You found universal and non-critical in Egypt as well. I will stop here.
Dr. Hanafi, I'm so, I'm so sorry to have put you through this. It was a bit.
We don't hear you.
You don't see me. Oh, excuse me. You hear me now? You hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to have put you through that. It was a bit painful to watch you struggling, and in that regard, I feel the need to be a bit merciful towards you and not selfish, given your condition as well as the late hour. I'm just kind of wondering if you could perhaps just give us a little bit of the takeaways from what you are saying, what we are witnessing post Arab uprisings in regards to the construction of knowledge, not the construction, but the production of knowledge. The major shifts that we are witnessing are, fill in the gaps.
Yeah, very good. If you like, it's really the influence of identity politics is less and less.
Okay.
After the Arab uprising, and more people are aware about the importance of social science, and they wanted to do it properly. it was amazing, for instance, how in country like Egypt, there is a many studies how uh, uh, social, if you like, how engineers decided to say, we want to go and study sociology or anthropology. Why? Because they understand the importance of these sciences, and not as ideology, but as something we can learn from the social science. So if you like, that the identity politics paradigm is less and less important. Is complemented with other things. Now, many, they cannot write without acknowledging the impact of authoritarianism. Of course, if you like, I'm talking about the trends. You can find examples of opportunists who upload for authoritarian power or other. But what I'm interested to show that that it's really, there is this conscience that we cannot continue anymore to blame the external power as an exclusive, if you like, dynamics. You need to understand how we in our society, how different power structure, they play a role in creating this domination, if you like, and creating cultural hegemony in a sense of Gramsci. Okay, so so the Arab uprising become an occasion that people write really amazing things. If you go to Idafat, you will find barely people talk about political economy while understanding, for instance, give you example. A sociologist wanted to study in Jeddah the aging institutions, the institution dealing with aging population. Before the Arab uprising, I was begging her because she was a woman from Saudi Arabia, so I need really to push for a new for new scholars from this part of countries. So I suggested, say, she should tell us why a wealthy country like Saudi Arabia need NGOs to deal with aging population. Why not the state? Okay, so and she I have a hard time with her, and I end up abandon this this request. So now, if you like, people are more encouraged to say, no, we need to look to political economy. We need to look to political system. We need to look to religious system also, how it's operating in our society and things like that. So if you like, this is what is new. The local paradigm is there. It's still there. But identity politics paradigms is less operating because it's complemented with other perspective of moral philosophy and moral and political philosophy, if you like.
I see. And you're witnessing this in the production of social science research in the region, you're saying? Not just
exactly.
Not
It's
just
really,
brain drain or any.
it's really empirical work. I mean, there is mathematical models behind it, and there is I mean, I don't want to bother you so much on this, but I did many uh, interesting study to confirm what are the paradigm operating in the Arab world.
Right. You did, however, mention in your talk that there's a degree of fragmentation when it comes to how different clusters of or communities of production of knowledge talk or don't talk with one another, right? So on one hand, you have these evolutions and developments of social science outputs locally. But on the other hand, to what extent is this being picked up from the wider periphery? You mentioned that Fawaz Trabulsi, for instance, was very influential on a local level, but is never cited by people like Mark Lynch, who has 50,000 people on his Twitter feed.
Tawfiq, it's not only Mark Lynch. It's never cited by people who wrote in Arabic about Arab uprisings, because there is a commodification of higher education. How we should cite, how we should cite those who that influential, that we can benefit from them. That the editor of journals can take the production, the pieces into account. So you see, it's a whole distortion of knowledge production, and who become in the end marginal. So what become marginal is not only because of knowledge infrastructure. That, for instance, Fawaz Trabulsi, maybe if you Google and you write Tunisian uprising, you will not find him. Actually, you will find him because he wrote in the newspapers in early time. But if you like, people are not interested on citing him. Interested in citing those who count for this clique, shilla, clique of social scientists that they want to be to function as a bubble, if you like.
Doesn't that depiction kind of somehow back up the argument of the detractors who say that the external is the problem, and part of it is not just their power, but also their intellectual power over us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but by playing this, we harm ourselves. We again, this is, if you like, if you take many academics who write in جريدة الأخبار in Lebanon, for instance, you will find clearly that they think that what is count is the outsider. So that they should talk about them. They should take into account what she think, they think, and things like that.
Yeah. I do want to give the opportunity for anybody who wants to ask any questions, although I do want to be merciful to Dr. Hanafi. One thing that so if you do have questions, please put them in the question and answer feature. With that said, let me emphasize or ask or point out that the fact that dictatorship and authoritarianism remains a dominant feature of the MENA region. Is there, how do we witness these regimes adjusting or not to these social science transformations in production?
Yeah, I am not saying that the external factors is not important. I mean, but I mean, you need to,
of course,
to understand why Bashar al-Assad, after 50 years of power with his brother, they refuse to do a basic human rights things and cede the power to the people. So what I'm trying to say we need to understand what is going on Syria. Of course, there is external dynamics play a role in Syria, but I mean, if you reduce everything to that, you don't understand things. look now what happened in Iran. I mean to say that this woman who were oppressed by the veil, that they are oppressed simply because they follow the propaganda of Western countries. I mean, it's a total denial, if you like. And unfortunately, this is the discourse you find it among social scientists in some scholars in Lebanese university, for instance, where they are so influenced by discourse of Hezbollah and how Iran is struggling against the American imperialism.
Right, but partly what I'm taking away from you is that there's something hopeful in the fact that social science production in the Arab world today has begun to not just emphasize the outside, but understand the importance of things like structure.
Exactly, exactly.
And it's also undergoing a hybridization process, you're saying, no?
Exactly.
Between global, local, political economy, identity politics, etc. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and so this is actually something to look for, hopeful. These are important, hopeful developments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
If
do
you
what I
want to look, to hope, hope is here.
Inshallah. Yes. No. What my previous question was asking about was the nature of the regimes themselves. How are they adapting or not to this new dynamic? Or they just simply rely upon like brute force, so they're not in need of anything social science related, and can just go back to the stick.
I think what is going on is this I mean, this what I called classically liberal and politically illiberal left. Classically liberal, it means that they believe in classical liberalism, individual liberties, human rights as a natural things, minority right, etc. But they are not anymore interested to listen to the other people, and they don't accept anymore Jean Rawls' political liberalism, which is dividing in society. There should be one conception of a good life, one conception of justice that everyone should adopt it, and conceptions of the good life in plural. The social scientist historically was, especially in the last 20 years, and you find it everywhere, including in the Arab world, where these people say, no, we have one conception of a good life, and we are not interested in having a public reason, a debate in the public spheres to talk with the other. We want only to label them. They are Middle Ageist. They want to return us to 6th century. Things like that. This is, if you like, this is very harmful, and because of that, social science is not anymore influential, and the population drift into right. In Israel, where you, I would say, even in Palestine, I mean, conservatism, I mean, and so population drift into right, and we say, no, there is one conception of a good life, and we will condescend the other who don't think like us. So it's more and more, if you like, something I observe It's not related to Arab uprising. I think Arab uprising bring some dynamics, which is really very good, but it's still this people who are classically liberal and politically illiberal is still there, and we need really we need all to be modest in order to influence people. If we don't influence people, and we will tell them that there is a one way of a good life, there is a secularism that we cannot put, we will take a hardline conception of the secularism à la française and say, we don't want anything in the constitution is related to Islam. For instance, this is while 162 countries in the world where they have mentioning of religion in their constitution. So if you like, beyond the specificity of the Arab world and the Arab uprisings, I would say there is an issue, a crisis of social sciences now, and this is why I try to push our social science to be more dialogical. But when I say dialogical, it doesn't mean to negotiate with the enemy. You can dialogical. It means that you will be listening and maybe having social movement, having violence action in the case of colonialism. So dialogical sociology is not something that we need to be nice with the enemy. No, but there is a condition of taking into account this emotional turn of our modernity and how emotion become important and how we are incapable to understand the sphere of the others, if you like, and take it into account. And again, take it into account, not to make it like I take it for face value, but if you like, to take it into account, to study it, to things like that.
Dr. Hanafi, I'm not going to push you any longer. I think on the purpose of mercy, it's but you were able to get your points across. I feel certainly by the end. Can I just ask you, do you have any place that you can point the audience to be able to read up on some of these thoughts that you have put together today?
Yes. Should I send you an email and you distribute it?
We would be happy. We would be happy to, unless you want to mention a website that people can go to or something. Okay.
First, now I need to go and sleep, but tomorrow morning I will do it.
No, don't worry. No, I just wanted to make a promotion for some of the ideas that you've come out with.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for the generosity of your time, especially in this context, as well as your ideas. We apologize again for all the complications that led to this, but are very grateful for what you've put in for this today. You've been listening to the annual general lecture of the Council for British Research in the Levant, and in particular to Dr. Sarah Hanafi, who has delivered this lecture today. We'll post it on our website, cbrl.ac.uk, in good time. But otherwise, everybody have a good night, and please, Dr. Hanafi, get some rest and feel better soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All the best. Take care. Selam.